to Mondo Thingo.
Tonight, we look into rumours of a mod revival, give Queen Latifah a royal going over, and get into the ring with the best bitches on the box.
How dare you!
Hello, I'm Amanda Keller and welcome to Mondo Thingo. Yes, tonight we have a crash course in all-round singer, rapper, actor Queen Latifah. And we'll be talking to the man who's given crash courses in script writing to everyone from John Cleese to Quentin Tarantino. But before any of that, it's time for Mr. Finger on the Pulse, Steve Kinane. G'day, Steve.
Hi, Amanda.
I can only imagine that you are outraged this week.
Why's that?
Well, you must be the only Australian male whose name hasn't been put forward to be the new James Bond.
I think I am the only one not on the list. So far we've had Hugh Jackman, Heath Ledger, and now they're saying Eric Bana, though his agent has denied that this week.
I'd actually like to see Eric Bana play James Bond as Chopper Read.
That'd be great. Uncle Chop Chop.
Uncle Chop Chop, shaken, stirred and shot. What have you got for us?
It's a great story about a busker who normally on his Friday nights plays the streets in Brisbane. Last Friday night, he ended up playing in front of 2,000 people at the Metro in Melbourne with the legendary American hip-hop outfit Jurassic 5.
Well, who's he? How did this happen?
The guy is Robbo. His name is Matthew Robinson. He's a student from Brisbane. He's a big fan of Jurassic 5, and he ended up on their last album, Power in Numbers. He was busking outside at a Jurassic 5 gig, and Newmark from the band pulled out his dictaphone, recorded a bit of, you know, his flute playing, but also a bit of his conversation with Newmark. Should we listen to a little bit of it?
What's your name, man? Matt. Robbo, mate. Sticks and pipes. Robbo. Nice to meet you, mate.
Hey, what's up, G5?
Yeah, J5. Fucking good shit, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking good shit. I saw you at the Gold Coast, big day out.
That's on the album.
That's on the album. So this huge fan of Jurassic 5, a busker from Brisbane, ends up on the album. It sells all around the world, but that's not enough for Robbo. He wants to get up on stage with Jurassic 5 next time they come here, which is now they've just been in the country. So he catches up with Jurassic 5. They say, fly down to Melbourne. We're playing in Melbourne this week. So he flies down with them, rehearses, stuffs up the rehearsal, but they say, come on anyway. He gets on stage and Mondo Thingo was there filming.
One of Australia's own is on that album. I don't know if you guys know that or not.
He's fantastic. The thing I love about it is that usually, you know, big artists, they've got big egos and they wouldn't let someone like that on stage with them. But J5, all credit to them, they've let the busker from Brisbane, Robbo, on stage with them.
Good on them. Good story.
It is a great story.
Now, from that to stupidity.
Yeah.
Now, have you heard of the Darwin Awards?
I love the Darwin Awards.
Well, these have been around for a while, and these are awarded to people who die doing stupid things. The Stupidity Awards have just taken place in Montreal in Canada, and these are awards given to people who've done stupid things who are still living. I mean, even more dangerous.
It's about time they got recognised.
Don't you think?
I think so.
Well, the guys behind the Stupidity Awards have sent us a special greeting.
Good evening, Australia. We at the World Stupidity Awards could not be more proud of the way the awards went, and we were glad to hand out awards in the following category. Stupidest Man of the Year.
And the winner is President George W.
And Stupidest Act of the Year was not the wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl, but here we have an Australian victory.
The winner of Stupidest Act of the Year is the crocodile hunter feeding the crocodile with his baby son.
Thank you, Australia.
I love the fact that Steve Irwin actually beat invading Iraq
It's
as
great,
the
isn't
Stupidest
it?
Act of the Year.
I love the fact that Australia is world class in the arena of stupidity.
Good one.
It is good.
Well, we're also nominated. Our government was nominated.
Oh, yeah.
And this is for making moves to ban gay marriage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, my favourite category, though, is the Stupidest Trend of the Year. Trucker hats is the winner, those big stupid hats.
Yeah, I've got some mates who wear them.
Of course you do. But trucker hats beat war, spam, climate change and terrorism for the Stupidest Trend of the Year.
Why isn't Ugg boots in there? Why did they get a comeback?
I know, that's the thing. And over a certain age, they still just look like slippers, don't they?
They do. Big fluffy slippers.
Showing my age there. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks, Steve. Now, The Who has just toured Australia, and Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey didn't even punch each other out once. No doubt there were quite a few mods in the audience. So what's the attraction of this narrow tie-wearing, motor scooter riding subculture? The Who's recent windmilling tour across the country has put the spotlight on a subculture as old as the band itself, the sharp-dressing, scooter-riding mods. Mod culture spans 3 generations, and one of the new breed is Mod Club Night organiser Nathan Leake.
Mod appeals to this generation because it's something you can do and you can put your own twist on it. The fashion's great, the music's awesome. We get a big mix of people at our club nights. We get a lot of the people that were in the scene in the 80s, and then we get a younger crowd which are either in the mod scene or on the fringe.
It's dressing up, it's going out there, you wear your clothes to distinguish who you are.
If you're a mod, you live for it. You don't, you know, it's not just a trend.
The mod scene itself was in the 60s, you know, post-World War. Working class kids in the ghettos want to bring themselves out, you know, they dress the part, they look the part.
The mod scene has always been tied in with fashion and music, and in the 60s that meant The Who, The Small Faces and Australia's Ray Columbus and the Invaders.
Mod is something that has never really gone away. It's just that the media loses interest and then writes about something else for a while. The reason that mod worked in Sydney in the 80s was partly because they were sick of punk, you know, it had run its course. Mod was a revolt within style, you know. I mean, your dad wore a suit and you wore a suit, but there were subtle differences. For the scene, you know, to really take off, it needed a hero, you know. It needed somebody who would really capture their imagination, and that guy was my brother.
Gary and his brother, the late Don Hosey, fronted the Sets, one of the biggest mod bands in Australia in the 80s.
The time was right for music with a more timeless appeal, and it happened that Quadrophenia was coming out, and you know, there'd been this bit of a mod revival in England, and so it was something that we could jump onto, you know. People went to see Quadrophenia, and just the romance of the scooters, the massed crowds, people just dug what they saw, what they heard, and liked the atmosphere. And when you turned up at the Sussex after seeing Quadrophenia, it was like walking into that. The music of the mods is pretty wide-ranging. Georgie Fame, you got a bit of jazz. Miles Davis, Mose Allison. It's a spectrum that is, you know, you never tire of.
The music's fantastic. The soul, the blues, the whole thing that goes along with it.
Passion for music is the best thing about it.
The music is number one. The style and the way we dress is just complements it.
All the great bands in rock history, if you look back a step or two, they're all going to be mod influence. Bands of today in particular, you got bands like UMI, the City Lights. You could definitely sense some sort of mod influence in that. Mods are different today for a lot of reasons. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily as disciplined as it used to be. Each stage, you know, they came in the 60s, 70s, 80s, everyone had their own little twist to it, and that's what makes it personal and enjoyable.
It's not difficult to find the clothes to be a mod. Buy the records, you know? And even if you haven't got it quite right, you know, if you've got the clothes, you've got the music, you know, that's it.
You don't want to do the same old thing over and over again, but, you know, you kind of harp back on it, so it's almost like a post-mod thing.
Did the mod guys come across?
Amanda, if management even thought we were talking about kickbacks and stories...
Oh, independence, integrity, blah, blah, blah. I really want one of those bikes.
Well, they're not going to give you one.
To all that publicity.
Because they wanted to give you something even better. They wanted to give you something that any mod would sell their grandmother for.
Where's it parked?
No, I have it here. It's the Jam's Greatest Hits signed by the drummer.
Great. I'll put it with my Bardot CD signed by their hairdresser. Still to come, we give singer, rapper, actor Queen Latifah the royal treatment.
Don't shoot your fat ass mouth off to me, because I don't give a shit. Now move it out.
But first, the TV bitch. One of the best reasons there is to watch a TV show, which is probably why just this week the makers of The Apprentice brought back the previously fired TV bitch goddess herself, Omarosa, for the show's finale. Now, reality TV is filled with perfumed pit bulls biting chunks out of their fellow contestants. But these new arrivals are just part of a long and malicious history of TV canines.
Right now, the box is brimming with reality TV bitches, ruthlessly clawing their way to a grand prize. In the show that's made recruitment riveting, the prize is a job for that nasty, ball-busting businesswoman, Omarosa.
They went from the projects to the White House.
In 9 suave second series of The Block, it's a top house bid for Stephen, the empty-handed loser and resident loudmouth.
I don't like you. All right, that's why I don't support you.
Since pouty Paris Hilton and her mini-me friend already have it all, their prize on the farcical series, The Simple Life, was meant to be some humility.
I know, we totally can do this. We're gonna rock.
And the spiteful and bitter Jerry from the highly polished Survivor just wanted $1 million. Yes, the fact they're all real gives them a little extra bitch cachet. And yet, it's the traditional and handcrafted fictional bitches that we think will achieve true TV bitch immortality. Arguably one of the toughest TV bitches was the brutal Queen Bee from the gritty Aussie mainstay soap Prisoner. She ruled the other inmates with an iron fist, and sometimes a hot clothing press.
Whatever made me do a silly thing like that?
Despite the introduction of psychopath warden, the Freak, Bee remained on top of her and the favourite bitch position. Call Joan Collins a bitch and she'll probably thank you. Playing the trashy and conniving Alexis in the Dreamlight Dynasty revitalised her career and set a standard by which all subsequent TV bitches have been measured.
Chance for me to find out why, since I've never met you, I don't like you.
It's said Sophia Loren was offered the part first, but who else but Joan could have made Alexis, the caviar queen of catfights, the quintessential character you love to hate?
Watch.
But a TV bitch people love to hate a little too much was the nosy, self-righteous Mrs. Mangle in the prosaic soap that has outlived some of its critics, Neighbours.
Well, I'm sure it's none of my business, considering I wasn't even invited.
So convincing was actress Vivian Grey as the exasperating Nell Mangle, she received mountains of abuse from the public, and this played a big part in her decision to leave Ramsay Street.
One wonders why you'd be sensitive to such criticism.
Aaron Spelling needed a ratings boost with the sagging series of Melrose Place. So he inserted a blonde, man-stealing barracuda called Amanda. It worked.
Of all of your neurotic, stupid, ill-timed antics, this is the worst.
Heather Locklear thought she was too old for Melrose, but audiences didn't. The show became a runaway hit thanks to Amanda, the emotional assassin. But if you want to talk about typecasting, there's Cornelia Francis. Her first foray into bitchdom was in the clunky bargain basement serial, The Young Doctors.
Prepared to give it. I suggest you concentrate on whatever else it is you do best.
After a time on the old-fashioned Sons and Daughters, where she was overshadowed by bitch goddess Pat the Rat, Cornelia found herself playing mean-spirited Morag on lifestyle soapy Home and Away, where sun, surf and vacuous teens meet.
The mentality of some people never ceases to amaze me. Those two couldn't even spell IQ.
But the icing on Cornelia's cranky cake was her role as taskmaster in Channel 7's game show with attitude, The Weakest Link.
Which is simply not good enough.
So while the bona fide bitches of reality lift ratings by pissing off their teammates, they aren't the real deal. It's the glamorous homewreckers, the big-head reputation destroyers, the champagne-guzzling backstabbers of fiction. It's not even a fair catfight. So, reality is...
The weakest link. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
George, you know how we just did that thing on TV Bitches?
No, Amanda. I was out of the studio having my tips frosted.
Well, I was wondering if I could do the next link with my bitch persona.
But Amanda, everyone knows you're the nicest person in television.
But I can be a bitch, a mean, cold, sexy bitch.
Like Julie Andrews.
I'll have my way. You know I will, because I just have to make one phone call and you'll never work in this town again. And then how will your baby sister get her heart operation? Still to come, screenwriting guru Robert McKee.
I said, is that what it's like to be on the receiving end of me? He said, yeah. I said, well, I would never want to be on the receiving end of me.
But now a Mondo cheat note. And caught in the headlights this week is rap matriarch Queen Latifah. Latifah was the one in the movie Chicago who had everyone saying, "Who is that?" But hip-hop fans knew her long before then as the first defiant female voice in the mostly male domain of rap. Right now she's preparing 2 albums for release next year, and she's heavily involved in a campaign to get young people and minorities to vote in the US election. Oh, talk about busy. In fact, between Hollywood and hip-hop, there isn't much Queen Latifah hasn't done, as we'll find out in this Mondo cheat note.
An established musician, Queen Latifah's also known for her movie roles. In fact, she's been called a one-woman entertainment conglomerate. She started life as Dana Elaine Owens and was given her stage moniker when she was only 8 years old. While delicate or sensitive is not how you'd normally describe her style, Latifah stuck. And not content with MC Latifah, she crowned herself the Queen. In 1989, she released her first album, All Hail the Queen, featuring KRS-One and De La Soul.
The title of this recital is Ladies First.
Her record label, Tommy Boy, dropped her after her next album, Nature of a Sister, bombed. So she turned to acting.
Latifah's had it up to here.
Her first movie role was in Spike Lee's questioning but earnest Jungle Fever. She played a waitress with attitude. It was a small but promising start. On The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, she played a B-grade movie star in an impressive send-up of herself.
I don't care if you have other appointments, clown. My cat needs acupuncture.
This led to her own popular sitcom called Living Single that ran for 5 years. But it was time to return to her first love.
Who you calling a bitch?
Queen Latifah signed to Motown Records and released Black Rain. It was dedicated to her brother, who died in a motorcycle accident, and featured her biggest hit single, Unity, which won a Grammy for Best Solo Rap Performance. And she was using her music to fight against the negative depictions of black women in hip-hop.
Guys don't seem to be wanting to stand up and say that it's wrong. And it's cool, I'll say it.
And so she made herself the boss. When she set up Flavor Unit Records and Flavor Unit Management, Queen Latifah became hip-hop's leading female entrepreneur. With Motown Records acting as its distributor, Flavor Unit Management has handled names like Outkast and LL Cool J and discovered rap outfit Naughty by Nature.
Slide left, slide right. Throw your hands high, I know that's right.
But she didn't just want to work on other acts, so she released her 4th album, Order in the Court. Her mainstream style was compared with Missy Elliott. Then from left field came The Queen Latifah Show. It was like Oprah with an edge and showed the delicate and sensitive Latifah.
You gotta decide that you're not happy with what you're doing and decide to make a change.
Latifah also executive produced the show, which ended due to poor ratings in 2001. Then it was movie bit part hell. Living Out Loud, a worthy film spoilt by poor casting, The Bone Collector with its ridiculously bad payoff, and the formulaic romance Brown Sugar. She was never the lead, but Latifah worked every line she had.
One day he tells me it's my fault he saw other women. So I picked up a knife and told him it was his fault I was stabbing him.
But soon bit parts would be behind her.
Folks atop the ladder.
Queen Latifah shot into the showbiz stratosphere in the flamboyant and sure-footed musical Chicago. She beat Whoopi Goldberg for the role of matron Mama Morton.
Shoot your fat ass mouth off of me, because I don't give a shit. Now move it out.
And her ballsy and commanding performance earned her Best Supporting Actress nominations from the Academy Awards, the Screen Actors Guild, and the Golden Globes. Next came the much less acclaimed but still successful culture clash comedy Bringing Down the House, where Steve Martin played the chalk to Queen Latifah's cheese.
Roscoe cracked that dough, I kicked it off the heezy and bounced. For real though.
What did you just say?
And maybe Latifah wished she wasn't also the executive producer when the production was hit with a $15 million lawsuit by a New York lawyer claiming the screenplay was her idea. Not deterred, Queen Latifah is taking on even more responsibility in her latest project, a comedy called The Cookout. For this, she came up with the story, is a producer, and has a pivotal role. Long reign the Queen. Mondo Lingo, providing the must-have words for your vocabulary. This week, but call. This is an accidental call made by sitting on your mobile phone. If you make lots of but calls, you can fix the problem by using your keypad lock. Harder to fix is the problem of your butt receiving lots of calls, though maybe it's just time it had its own phone.
Now, in 1983, Robert McKee started offering his story seminar to aspiring scriptwriters in California. And now, just over 20 years later, he has near guru status. He's led something like 40,000 people through his screenwriting fundamentals, including Eddie Izzard, John Cleese, Quentin Tarantino and Peter Jackson. So, Robert McKee, welcome to Mondo Thingo.
Thank you, Amanda.
Now, you know you have reached cult status when there is a character based on you in a movie. And the over-the-top antics of the screenwriting teacher in adaptation, well, Robert, they're all you. Let's have a look.
If you can't find that stuff in life, then you, my friend, don't know crap about life. And why the fuck are you wasting my 2 precious hours with your movie?
Okay, thanks.
Now, I believe you said yes to that portrayal, but with a few conditions. Obviously, you didn't worry about the swearing.
You know, I asked my son, I said, is that what it's like to be on the receiving end of me? He said, yeah. I said, well, I would never want to be on the receiving end of me.
Now, I mentioned in the introduction a couple of the many people who've done your course, but a couple of Australians have too. Our recent Oscar-winning animator, Adam Elliott, and the guys from Working Dog.
Yeah.
What do you think of Australian films? What are some of your favourites?
Some wonderful films like Shine and Love Serenade. Certainly The Castle threw me out of my chair with laughter.
They say the plane, they fly overhead, drop the value. I don't care. In Beirut, plane fly overhead, drop bomb. I like this plane.
So what is it about those films that you like what are they doing right?
Well, they tell a wonderful story. The writer starts with a wonderful insight into life or into society, and then out of that insight, of course, manages to create characters and a world and tell a compelling story. When films go bad, it's usually because, of course, the storytelling is very flawed somehow, and then they will try to substitute a lot of spectacle.
I know you're not a fan of Moulin Rouge. Were you thinking of that then?
Well, the Moulin Rouge is just one of them. You should never be sitting in front of a film thinking, wow, what a shot. You should be going, wow, what a moment. I mean, you should be feeling something and understanding something about the characters and their lives. But if there is no content, it's an artist, a filmmaker calling attention to himself. Oh, what a clever camera mover am I. What we're witnessing these days, indeed, the triumph of style and spectacle over substance and an insight into life. I think we're all aware that film as an art form is not doing very well.
Well, what about the future of the industry? You've said you think we're hearing the death rattle of the film industry.
If Hollywood is a place where things tend to start and others then spread like an oil slick, what's happened in Hollywood now, and I think this will become a trend everywhere, is that the finest of writers are abandoning film. The best writing in America is on television. Sopranos, 6 Feet Under, Sex and the City, The Practice, Law and Order, on and on and on. Someone like Alan Ball, who wrote American Beauty, won an Oscar, then couldn't get, as we say, arrested. And so he said, to hell with it, and he went over and created this superb television series, 6 Feet Under, which is the best thing in America, as far as writing is concerned. And if that trend continues, then film as an art form, by the year 2050, will be no more important to society than ballet is today.
Wow. We'll see Dude, Where's My Car, number 11.
Exactly.
I look forward to that. Well, Robert McKee, thank you very much for joining us on Mondo Thingo.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Amanda.
Next week on Mondo Thingo, Olympic movies. Do they last the distance and are there any winners? Director Spike Jonze, annoyingly talented overachiever or lovable rich kid? And move over Lion King, here comes Debbie Does Dallas, the musical.
Is that your finger in my ass? Oh!
So make sure you have front row seats for next week's show. That's just about all we have time for this week, except for this little extra something. As Australian youngsters fight the battle of the bulge, North Korean kiddies are kept slim and trim with the occasional famine and some government-produced exercise videos. We've got one to show you tonight from a North Korean show called Genius Kids that's shown on the state-run channel KCNA. It has all the choreographic precision, luxurious production and inspirational music you'd expect when the young stars are all hand-picked by their leader, Kim Jong-il. This is what Aerobics Oz-style would look like if it was produced by a totalitarian regime. Bye for now.
Saturday night, we have a few